You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Well, incredibly, folks, we've reached the final week of the month of May. It is the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill. How we feeling, Rosie?
We're doing good, man. Monday morning. Feels like we haven't done the show a long time, but it's only been a couple of days.
It feels like it's been like 3 weeks. So full disclosure, I got called by the National League on Friday, headed down to New York for the weekend, did a couple shows for them, but it has felt like a whirlwind just watching the Stanley Cup playoffs the last couple of days. You've been to New York, obviously, man. There's just so much to do, and like it seems like so little time. And I wanted to try every food possible there too.
Yeah, the way to do it is to go to New York City with someone or meet someone who's from there or lived there and knows the little spots. I mean, you can go to the Ground Zero and the Statue of Liberty and do the Times Square. Like, people that are from New York never go to Times Square. They never touch it, but you go to these spots where you're walking down a random street and everything looks the same, and you just go down these random little steps. There's no sign, there's no nothing. Knock on the door and you go into this place, and it's like the wildest, craziest. This one bar we went to, it was like they only sold PBR and red wine, and inside was everyone and anyone you could think of. Like, there was like these Orthodox Jewish guys there was these hipster guys there was these gang looking people, there was college kids, there was us, and everyone was just hanging out, playing darts, ping pong, drinking PBR and red wine. And we walked out, and it was like 4 a.m. It was just the coolest. It's the coolest city, man. There's some kind of a buzz about there. So you had a good weekend or what?
It was pretty good. It was very, very subdued. I'll be quite honest about it. It was last minute. This was, in fact, my third trip to New York. It took me like 30 years to go to New York for some reason, but I think it's so cool because you can literally go there a billion times and it'll be something new you can do. I wanted to Florida on Saturday night, but I am a professional broadcaster, so I just went out for one drink, called it a night. Quick turnaround doing Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final last night on YouTube for the NHL. Same type of setup as our show, by the way. It was really cool, really, really well done. But that was my major takeaway. There's just so much to do. So every time I go, I'm going to chip away. But still, like you want to find excitement, just go to New York. But I will say, I guess because it's Memorial Day long weekend, it was kind of quiet there.
Really? Well, I was just watching the game last night, and the people in the park or wherever they have their viewing
Central
party.
Park.
It looked like it's summertime out there, hey?
Man, the weather was incredible. It was really, really good. 27, 28 around
Come
there.
on.
We were joking. It felt like sunrise where the game was yesterday.
I don't know. Summer's taken forever in my part of it. It's been a brutal spring, man. It's been getting me down a little bit. I golfed yesterday. It looked like it was going to absolutely pour on us, but we ended up having a nice night, one of the nicest nights of the spring. But I am ready for that good stuff, and that's out your way.
Well, great to hear. I wanted to get your thoughts initially here to start off today's podcast on the conference finals. We can start with the freshest game, and that is Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final. I don't know why I just automatically assumed Florida was going to win this series, but the Rangers are an excellent team. I think the big story in that series, Adam Fox is banged up. It hasn't mattered. Chris Kreider hasn't done much. Artemi Panarin hasn't done much, but this is why you pay some vets who have won before, like Barclay Goodrow. Has more goals already in the Stanley Cup playoffs than he did all the regular season. It's fortunate when you have a guy like Alexis Lafreniere finding his footing in the league, but just your general thoughts before we get to the Trouba hit yesterday on the New York Rangers being up 2-1 in that series.
Yeah, I think I was like lots of people where you think that the Florida Panthers, they're just kind of unstoppable, but all of a sudden you stop and it's like, oh, shoot, they're human. Like, they're down 2 goals. We were golfing, watching it in the cart, and, bang, bang. It's like the first 8 minutes of the third period, they're down 2 goals and just like, oh, yeah, like, what was that intermission like? Just no panic, obviously, pure confidence that you're fine. Down 2 going to the third, not a good spot to be. Bang, bang, first intermission, first 8 minutes, they tie it up. I'm like, God, Florida's unstoppable. And it could have gone either way. Shesterkin was standing on his head. But, yeah, like you say, New York pulls ahead and gets the lead in that series is impressive. I said from the get-go, I think that'll be an absolute war. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think they're going to go 7. And either team that comes out of it, again, in my mind, I think is going to win the Stanley Cup. I think they're going to I think they're going to roll either Dallas or Edmonton in the finals.
That's interesting, because I still am backing the Dallas Stars, and excuse me, we'll get to that series. I think you look at that Rangers series specifically, the response, you're right, how you go down 4-2, and that's the way you respond. And I thought Bobrovsky made some big stops, and Igor Shesterkin was good. I saw the analytical numbers that really heavily favored the Florida Panthers in that game. I thought it was much closer than that, but I think it's all about execution and response this time of year. And the Rangers, every time I think they're cooked, they're finished, they just come right back, man. They're really, really resilient.
Yeah, I was going to say resiliency is a huge thing this time of year that most teams seem to have. You can win games that you may have not necessarily looked like you were going to win or even deserve to win. But I mean, hence the hot goalie, man. I mean, you can take your 10 minutes off in one of the period and just get peppered. And I mean, a team could score 2 goals on you in that period of time, and you're kind of cooked, but you got that big goalie to bail you out. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we weathered the storm. We found our bearings. Let's get our footing again and take it to them, and you win the game. I mean, if you have a different goalie in there, you're done. And these goaltenders at this point in the season, they're just everything to me. Every time you see a game, it's just like, well, which one? Like Bobber, Shesterkin, Ottinger, Skinner was the odd man out going into these conference finals to me. But every game that he's played, like I think the last 3 or so, he's been absolutely solid and stood right in there and mirrored Ottinger. So goaltending is absolutely huge, but these teams, they have it all figured out. It kind of reminds me, I've probably said it before on the show, where my last year with the Leafs, at the end of the season, a bunch of us got put down with the Marlies because they were making a run, and we weren't really there for the year, didn't really know what they were all about, but they went all the way to the Calder Cup finals, and they were just so resilient. Like my buddies on the team were just like, watch, dude, we'll be down 2 in the third period, and there's absolutely no panic. We just score at will. And they just were no panic. No one's deviating from the plan. No one's reinventing the wheel. You just stay course. We know who we are. We know what we do. And bang, bang, just score goals, get the job done, get the wins. And it's pretty neat to be on a team like that where they know who they are and their identity. They have confidence in themselves. It's pretty rare, to be honest. But this time of year in the NHL, the teams that are left over, they've got that in spades.
It is amazing how much confidence you can get from a goalie who just makes save after save after save. We talked about it on the YouTube stream because I did bring up this show quite a bit, and I mentioned how I cover the Maple Leafs, and you just never know when that next save is going to come in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And conversely, I would even throw Stuart Skinner into that conversation, where the goaltending has been very, very solid. I know there were 9 goals scored in the conference final game between Florida and the Rangers yesterday, but I thought they were all snipes or beautiful finishes by Alexis Lafreniere and nice tips. And I think goaltending, especially in this market, is not talked about as it should be. And that's why I think the Leafs have been linked to a bona fide stud netminder, because I think if you want to get to that next level, you need to upgrade in between the pipes. And that's certainly been the big story. We saw another questionable hit by Jacob Trouba. We have the video here if you've missed it, Rosie, but another like chicken wing elbow. What did you make of that?
Well, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, Trouba, like you're not even trying to hide it anymore. Like just like falling over, leading and lunging with it. And I sent it to my group chat going, oh my God, he's like not even trying. And of course, Buddy goes down the tunnel. But one of those ones, man, we talk about it on the Department of Discipline all the time, our Hockey Fights podcast, where you need multiple camera angles. And if you just look at that one, it's just like, what are you doing, Trouba? Like kick him out of the game and suspend him. Like you can't keep doing that. It's completely obvious. But then you go to a different view and it's like, oh, it kind of like catches the numbers, and like BX is trying to like say, well, that's just, the difference between this and like a forearm like shove to direct is different. It's like, I'm not sure how hardcore I think about that. But when you look at a different camera angle, it's like, oh, it didn't get him where it looked like it did. So, hence going upstairs, looking at it and saying, sorry guys, this isn't a 5, this is a 2. And that's pretty important to be able to do. It's not ideal. Trouba is a truck. He hammers guys, and when you do that, sometimes you're going to straddle the line. But I guess my overall thought on it was initially like, what are you doing? And then at second, third glance, it's like, oh, wait a sec, maybe that's not as bad as it looked.
Yeah, but my question is, are we just going to wait for Trouba to murder somebody or really, really injured somebody? Because Again, I'd understand if this was a one-off, Rosie, but this happens like once a week with Jacob Trouba. And I wonder if there was a precedent set in game 2 with the Kulikov hit too.
Is that the one where he like went flying into the boards like crazy? Yeah, we
No,
broke
there was
that.
a Kulikov hit. I forget who was on
Oh,
the rain. Like Kulikov's a defenseman, obviously
sorry,
in
I'm
Florida.
thinking
There
of
was
the
a hit.
first round.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a questionable hit in game 2, and that's why Rangers fans were barking back. There's like no way you can kick him out for that when that happens. And I think that's sadly what happens in series is that you set a precedence for what is, something that's over the top and what isn't. And I just look at Trouba again. I got no problem with the guy. Like I need those type of players on my team come the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't care if you cross the line. It just go watch hockey 20 years ago. Every player crossed the line. But sometimes when you do things so many different times and in so many different ways, there you have to be responsible for your actions. And the NHL really hasn't come down on Trouba just yet.
Well, that's the thing. If he does something that's suspendable, then you gotta give it to him. You gotta keep it consistent. You gotta keep it clear. But I don't agree with how you said, well, what are we gonna do? Wait until he hurts somebody? Well, you don't suspend him because he almost could have, maybe would have hurt someone. So let's suspend him just in case he does it again and does hurt someone. Like, not a chance.
It's the
If it
action then more, right?
if it's a suspendable thing, yeah. I mean, you can fly around like this all around the ice and wave it right in front of everybody's faces and almost kill a million guys. Okay, you're not actually doing anything. You don't suspend
Yeah.
guys for that. You got to do the crime and then you'll get the punishment. But yeah, I do know what you're saying. He walks the line and he's up in the air with a bunch of plays, but that's up to the NHL to say, boom, that's crossed the line. You're getting a suspension, or you're getting XYZ. And then this is no, sorry, there's no infraction there. That is a 2-minute minor for elbowing. Like, I'm all right with it, but it's up to the NHL to stay up on it and not get it to the point where, well, we should have suspended him for that one at the beginning of the series. So now we're going to suspend him for this one because it was almost really bad. Like, no, you can't start getting into that gray matter.
It is important to stress, too, that you forget, and you would know this being on the ice with these guys, the game happens so quickly, so watching a replay is not going to do it justice. And I'm not defending Trouba for that. I think he's lucky that he missed Rodriguez, but when you see it in initial time, you're like, holy smokes. But he actually got 4 minutes on that play. I believe 2 for slashing and 2 for elbowing. So he did get 4 minutes. They would kill off that penalty. In fact, they would score a shorthanded goal with the New York Rangers. They're up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Final. Just a quick word on the West Final. It's 1-1 after a 3-1 victory for Dallas in Game 2.
Yeah, I thought everybody had Dallas kind of pegged to win that. I'm not saying they won't, but people were talking about sweep and all kinds of things. Thought the Oilers were over their heads, but to win Game 1 is absolutely huge. They get the split in Dallas, close ones, but they're certainly in that series. If Skinner keeps playing that way, I think I said before the series started, Skinner's going to have to stand on his head, and their big boys, meaning McDavid and Draisaitl, are going to have to be monsters, and those things have both happened. So they're very much in the series. Looking forward to Game 3. And I think it could go either way. I think Dallas probably still has the edge, but Skinner's kind of been known to be a little bit like hot and cold and can be really good and then be really bad. So if he keeps his form, they'll certainly be in it. But if he loses it, they won't have a chance. And the other 3 goalies in the series just have nothing but rock solid play behind them. So we'll see. It's an interesting one though, and I am rooting for Edmonton.
Fair. It's almost by default. You're right, where it's like I would give more credit to Ottinger than I would a guy like Stuart Skinner. But I will say Skinner has held his own the last couple games specifically. I know he had some moments, some hairy moments in the Vancouver series, but the last couple games he's been very, very solid. So looking forward to Game 3 of the Western Conference Final tonight in Edmonton. We got Mike Commodore coming on in about 5 to 10 minutes here. Get his thoughts on the Maple Leafs. He's always got a hot take. He's just like you.
His are a little hotter, I think, but yeah, he wasn't real thrilled with the Winnipeg Jets signing, was he? So we'll pick his brain about that. And honestly, I like it when guys speak their mind and say what they really think. I mean, goes hardcore with it, and it's kind of his identity. And obviously, that all started with the Babcock thing, where he did not back down. I mean, and I don't mind it, man. I've had coaches where I just want every fiber in my body to tear them down to their studs. And sometimes a coach will get you in that frame of mind. Obviously, Babcock did with Commie, and Babs is just obviously known now, especially that started the ball rolling, but he's known to be just a just a bad guy. So we'll pick his brain about the new hiring there in Winnipeg and see what's on his mind.
Hashtag pack your shit. Former NHLer, current host of the Clearing the Crease podcast, Mike Commodore, is coming up at the Leafs Nation 401. If you're watching right now, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button here on YouTube. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. The opening segment is brought to you by Greta Bar YYZ. For a good time, find Greta, 590 King Street West. Weekly specials, live sports, over 60-plus arcade games. Let the games again go big. Go to Greta Bar YYZ. So as we alluded to last week, Rosie, I think it was earlier in the week, just after the Berube hire went official, then the press conference, there's going to be some reshuffling when it comes to assistant coaches. The first domino has fallen. Manny Malholtra spent 4 seasons here with the Maple Leafs, back to the Vancouver Canucks organization. He's going to coach Abbotsford of the American Hockey League, so he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. It's I remember playing against Malholtra, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to comment on assistant coaches in the NHL. You don't have access to them. They're not doing interviews. You have no idea what they're doing behind the scenes, except, judging their performance by the team's play, which for an assistant coach is kind of it's not very fair, really. But a lot of times he comes with the head coach. They're part of the staff that's involved in the head coach. And when they go, oftentimes it's, you could be going with them. But, for the experience he got in the Maple Leafs organization, he's going to move on and try his hand now at head coaching at the American League level. So in my mind, this is just another step in the coaching world for Manny Malholtra to prolong and further and develop his coaching career. So good for him. Hopefully he has success. I don't have a big opinion on him one way or the other. Seems like a fine guy to me.
I've heard great things. Honestly, this is the Sedins working their magic again as they get further and further in that Canucks organization. Obviously played with Manny Malhotra, and I think he had reached his ceiling in Toronto. I mean, 4 seasons. They bring in a new head coach. It's not him. If we have a chance to interview him over the next couple of weeks, I want to ask him if he actually interviewed for that job, because as you recall, Brad Treliving said he had 9 different candidates that he spoke to at least for this opening, and I wonder if some of the assistants we're in general conversations. But yeah, I think this is naturally what you do next, is go be a head coach in the American Hockey League and work from there. But I've heard nothing but good things about Manny Malhotra. I think it's important to stress too, the first person in the core 4 era to really figure out that power play was Manny Malhotra. Of course, it ran dry, and his title and his job changed a bit the last couple of years, but you can't lose sight of that. And again, I would love to just have a conversation with him about things behind the scenes, how they working with so much star power and talent on a power play unit. I think it is difficult to do. There's so many different examples of star-studded rosters who couldn't figure things out. But yeah, it's a nice move for him. And it's an organization he's very familiar with too.
Yeah, big time. I'm sure he's excited. I wouldn't be surprised if he put in 2 years, had some success, and ended up as a head coach in the NHL. But yeah, it'd be fun. Let's try to get him on. It'd be fun to pick his brain. Like, how much input do you have on a group? Like, if you have a young group of kids, a little different than this star-studded all-stars, and how much input do the guys have? Do they have differences of opinion? Do they have input on what the style is, what the breakout is, what the entry is, what the setup is? Like, how much is each guy, when they have that much talent and offensive ability, how much input do they each have? And is there friction ever? And all those questions would be great to pick his brain on. So I'll let the master go to work on some guest action there, Nicholas.
Yep, we'll see what we can do on the Malhotra front. I think it's intriguing to note too, like, I don't think there needs to be a rush on filling out the coaching staff. There's plenty of time between now and puck drop next season, and I think who knows what's to come in terms of the 4 teams remaining. Maybe you pluck somebody from there, but I would think right now what's happening behind the scenes outside of the pro scouting meetings getting set for the NHL draft coming up in 3 to 4 weeks here is, I think Craig Berube's going through with a fine-tooth comb what he wants to do next. Because I think if you bring in somebody of the ilk, and I think every coach should have the opportunity to bring in 1 or 2 of his guys, that's probably what he's doing right now.
Yeah, you'd think so. Like you say, there's no real rush on it, right? I mean, an assistant coach isn't gonna, have a huge stack of things to do on his desk that's time sensitive, their job is really to sit down closer to the time and go over kind of what the ethos of the team is going to be, what kind of things you're going to throw in. I mean, what are you going to pick the style of your power play? Like right now, that could change week 1 of the
Yeah.
season. So like you say, it's not a huge thing, but yeah, Chief will probably be, if he doesn't already have it in his mind who it's going to be, he'll probably take the summer to figure out who that's going to be. And like you say, I think they got, scouting meetings, amateur scouting, professional scouting. They got July 1 coming up. There's a lot going on in the minds of that organization, and that's probably not forefront of their mind right now.
Well, that's my question is like, how many general configurations are there for a power play, right? Like,
Yeah.
when does it just come down to the players executing? But I
It
think the biggest, again, I'm not a coach or anything, but I think the biggest thing I've noticed that Leafs power play, they don't shoot nearly enough. And how do you score in the Stanley Cup playoffs? You put the puck on net. So I think if there's one change I will see next season, I should say, it's probably them shooting the puck. Maybe it's a different guy running the power play in general. It's been Morgan Riley for like the last 5 to 6 years. Maybe they find somebody like Brandon Montour, right-handed shooting guy, who can run that power play. So I think you're right, where it's like, even if you brought in an assistant right now, he really can't make a proclamation one way or another how it's going to work because he doesn't know who's going to be on the roster, right?
Yeah, true. And I would just like to see a power play. Like, I'm for the furthest thing in the world from a power play specialist, but if you have 2 or 3, options, obviously Matthews is one in his sweet spot there. Give Nylander somewhere an option. If we could have a big shooting D-man like a Bouchard coming down Broadway, those 4 guys can only take away so much. And as soon as they give up one spot, boom, that's you hit it. And when they're all clicking and you all know what you're looking for, it would be nice to have those options where you just force a team to, address one too heavily and the other one is going to open up. That's what they got to get to. But I agree with you. They seem to just keep it around the perimeter. They don't really have a big shooter up top, and they just pass it around the perimeter too much. And did it dry up. I've just never seen in my life a power play go that dry in my life, especially one with that much talent and offensive minded players on it. I'm still in shock at what happened with that power play this year.
And again, there's been a lot of examples. I believe the Anaheim Ducks from around the 2018 era or so had so many star-studded players on their roster and couldn't figure things out. I think Nashville's been a prime example of that. There's been a lot of different teams that just can't figure it out. And again, the one thing every team does now is the drop pass. Like, I just would really love to sit down with somebody who runs a power play on a daily basis, and maybe we meet up with Mark Savard if he is the next guy who runs the power play for the Leafs, how many general configurations there are. Again, we're probably the wrong people to ask and talk about that, but that's my wonder. It's like, when does it honestly just come down to the players and their mindset and what they want to do?
Oh, well, it does. There's no
Yeah.
question. It's on them to get it done. Sometimes I wonder, like with that much talent on a power play, like is there too many generals and not enough soldiers? Like, are they all trying to, are they going against the grain with each other, trying to figure it out? Like sometimes the ones that click are just guys that are on the same page. There's no real, you'll have your quarterback or whatever, but they're kind of all hitting off each other. And if you get all those studs together in one room, it's kind of like they're elbowing each other, jostling for position. I want it here. I want it there. I think this way. I think that way. And they're all kind of the man out there. Do they run into problems with that? That's the only thing I can think of when you have that much talent on a power play that absolutely fills its pants. It's incredible that they couldn't figure it out. That's the only thing that I can think of is there's too many guys trying to be the man.
Talk about the power play. You're right. John Tavares, 2 goals, 9 assists, 11 points for Canada. But I never thought it made sense for this guy to go there knowing Team Canada at the World Championship's not going to send their best roster and they don't even win a medal. And again, I have family members who are Montreal Canadiens fans texting me being like, he can't win the big one. He can't win when it matters most. John Tavares is incredible in that tournament, but I didn't see anything positive to come from John Tavares going to that tournament. I know the guy loves hockey, but I would have just stayed away, Rosie.
Yeah, good for him for representing his country and trying to do well. It's just, I don't know. I got to admit, I didn't watch a single second of it, not 1 second. I didn't even see a highlight package of it. There's other things going on. The NHL playoffs are going on. People are getting outside and doing stuff, with the summertime. And to like the Olympics, I am all in on. I am super invested. I want Canada to do so well. It's devastating if they don't. You can't stand seeing another country celebrate or beat you. but in the World Cup or championships or whatever the hell it is, like it's not even
Yeah.
remotely best on bet. It's like, here's a sprinkle of players from this country, and here's the entire roster from that country minus a couple guys. Like, sorry to say, but the majority of the best Canadians are still playing in the playoffs or opt not even to go play over there. So I really don't have an interest in it when it's not best on best.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And again, we're looking forward, obviously, to the Olympics in a couple of years and the Four Nations tournament's coming up, I believe, next February. So maybe John Tavares is trying to put himself on the map. But I think if you try to go through some names, I just don't know if a guy like John Tavares is going to be there at the end of the day. But I will say, positive reviews, Rosie, for JT at this tournament. Mike Johnson, who covers it from TSN, was glowing over JT. He played a lot with Pierre-Luc Dubois, had a tough season for the Los Angeles Kings, but it's kind of interesting how he goes from like a really, really tough and shady Stanley Cup playoffs, goes to the World Championship in that type of environment, but looks more like the old John Tavares. But I think as you start to get older, and you can speak to this in maybe the later ends of your NHL career, it's harder to find that consistency, right?
Yeah, I mean, fuck. There's no comparison to myself and John Tavares. The guy's, he's elite level athlete, but it just Father Time is undefeated, right? And you start to get a little bit older. I mean, I just noticed that fast twitch would go like just that pow pow, just like popping off and getting that quick step. And like it would lag a little bit. And you're like, what the hell is that? Like you've had it since you're a teenager, and all of a sudden it's a little bit slower, and you turn your body in one way or the other, and all of a sudden, oh, like what happened to your back goes a little bit. You're like, Jesus. And I just hated the feeling of that. And when I'm not in the NHL anymore, I'm not sure what's motivating me anymore. You start to your training doesn't go as high intensity in the summertime. You just start to slow down. You start to wonder what's driving me, and you just miss a step. So a guy like John Tavares to stay at the elite level, to perform that way, to still have it in his guts and bones, to go over there and play in the World Championships, where you're not getting anything out of it except maybe exposure to the national team, to maybe be part of the Olympics or something like that. I get it, but it's hard when you start to get a little bit older and you lose a step, and you're like, holy shit, my whole career I've been going up, up, up. I've been getting better, better, better. I've been getting stronger. I've been getting faster. I've been getting more mature, more experienced. And then all of a sudden you hit your peak, and then it's just a decline. It's a weird feeling, and not one I think athletes like too much.
No, just it must be a weird and sickening feeling knowing you're on the back end. But I think obviously John Tavares still has a lot of hockey left in his career. You had a chance to play overseas. What's that experience like?
It's just a different look, man. Like you go over there, if it's a different schedule, different style of hockey, different coaching, different expectations. Just totally different. It's a breath of fresh air for a lot of guys, especially if you haven't been over there. You've been here the whole time. It's nice to get over there, especially at the end when it's the end of your career, and you can just kind of have a different outlook on things. It'll give you a shot of energy to go over there and do something different when things get stagnant and stale over here. So it's a nice finish for a lot of guys.
Our guest is ready. We're pumped up about this. I'm going to read the promo and bring him in. Frozen pucks are awesome when they're the back of the other guy's net, but that doesn't mean you'd want to eat one. That's why Wendy's only ever uses fresh Canadian beef that's never seen the inside of a freezer in all of their burgers. Whether you order a Baconator, Dave Single, or even a JBC, only ever find real fresh beef that's real juicy and loaded with fresh toppings. So download the Wendy's app, check out the latest deals, and order a burger that's only job is being delicious. We bring in now the president of the Mike Babcock fan club. It is Mike Commodore. What's going on, Commie?
I think you would have been great on the power play, though. You just never got a chance.
I've been saying forever, the Leafs can't.
Front of the net. I know I wouldn't have. Fuck that.
The Leafs can't win a cup because they didn't utilize me properly. I mean,
That's
no one
right.
sees it, but I mean,
That's
it's obvious.
right. They're too fucking soft.
Oh shit! How
What's
are you,
going on,
Tommy?
fellas? Sorry for the delay. I was trying. I don't know what was up with the link, but anyway, it's good to see you guys.
What are you up to out there? Where are you? A hotel room again?
I am, yeah. Been here. Actually, came back into Calgary on Thursday evening. They have the Gordie Howe Cares charity event, so I actually had to try and play hockey. I think 3 games. Man, I'm fucking terrible. I got it like bad. Like I wasn't like trying to like score or anything for a little bit, And then towards the end, I'm like, man, I should probably score. These guys drafted me like they think I used to play pro. And I started like trying, and I couldn't fucking. I don't even know if I got a shot on net. I'm fucking terrible. But anyways, the charity event was good. So no, back in town for till Friday. Then I got to go back to Arizona. We got the. I'm not sure if you're playing this year, Jay, but you're more than welcome whenever you want. We got the Flames Alumni Golf Tournament on Thursday.
I'm in
so
that.
I'm here till then.
I am in that. I'm excited at Pritt.
Yes,
nice track. I haven't played in a while, so I'll see you there for sure. But we were talking about, John Tavares getting a little bit older, blah, 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 blah. But like, to talk about what you just said, what happens when you get older and try to do it? Like when you're playing every single day and you're at that level and you're practicing every day with NHLers, you get pretty goddamn good and you feel good, even guys like us. And then you get older, you don't play for a year, 6 months, you throw the skates on. Like, what do you feel? To me, the puck feels like an anvil and my legs are burning like they're just filled with acid. And I'm like, what is going on?
I would say first and foremost for me, A, I wouldn't want the puck anywhere near me. B, I think it's like the legs, like you said. Like, I don't know. For me personally, I was never, at my peak, I was a shitty skater. So it definitely hasn't gotten better. But I would say, as I've gotten older, but I would say the first thing that, like, I noticed would be, like, no legs, like a couple of strides and my heart rate is floored and I'm like, oh my god, this is not good. And I think for like guys like Tavares and stuff, I think and obviously you guys touched on it earlier. I heard a little bit. I mean, he's an excellent hockey player and he's been good for a long time, but I think as you get older, like, you think you're doing things at the same speed, like it feels like that to you.
Oh no.
Yeah. It looked like he yanked a cord out of the wall or something, and he just looks.
Oh, he's back.
We can't hear you, Commie.
Okay, we'll try to reconnect here with Commie. If we can get him maybe just to back up a bit too. Our apologies for the technology sometimes. Just it's 2024. You know how it goes, Rosie.
He's just mashing buttons right now. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Try reconnecting, Commie. Do what you just did.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sorry. Somebody called me for some reason. But I would say to finish off my point there, I think you think you're doing things at the same speed. It feels like that to you, but in reality, you aren't. You're just slower.
Fair enough. Yeah. Commie, if I could just have you, can you just back up a bit and the speaker's just coming in a bit low? Thanks, man. I appreciate that. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I've been eyeing you for a while to get you on the show because I love how opinionated you are, just like Rosie. You had some comments on Scott Arneal. I know we don't cover the Jets, man. We got to hear it though.
I know. Fuck. Be totally honest. I wasn't sure. I figured he'd probably get hired. I was going to stay right out of it. I'm like, man, I don't need another Babcock thing. I'm fucking still don't hear about like the end of it with Babs. It's been a decade. That was never my plan. But Scott Arneal is a scumbag. I had the misfortune of being on the team, his first and only coaching in the NHL in Columbus. And I was actually excited when he got hired. I didn't know him I'd never met him before. I was in the third year of my 5-year deal in Columbus. I was the highest paid defenseman in the organization, which is kind of fucked up looking back, but it is what it is. He got hired. I was excited because one of his assistant coaches was a North Dakota guy, and I went to school at North Dakota. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Like this could be a good thing. We need something a little bit new. And we go through training camp, and I'll never forget after training camp, like our last practice, and then we were heading over to Sweden because we were playing San Jose for like those premier games. But after our last practice, the team was made. Everybody went to the bar. We weren't drinking or anything. We were just sitting there, and it was like a kind of a team get together. Hey, let's rah fucking hit the pom poms. And I remember him coming over, and for whatever reason, I was just looking at the front door, and I saw him walk in. And as soon as he walked into the bar, I saw him puff his chest out and like put his arms out like he thought he was the fucking man. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, oh no, not this shit. Anyways, he was so arrogant. Scott Arneal had a a great hockey career, in my opinion. He played like 700 games in the NHL. He played over 500 games in the minors, like played forever, like a legit career. It took me a while to figure this out, but when he got a head coach, in his opinion, he got married young, had kids young, and in his opinion, he wasn't paid for the kind of career that he had, which, hey, I'm not going to say, sure, you probably didn't make enough money. At the end of the day, that's not my fucking fault. And so when he came into Columbus, he came in and it was his time to get even. So who is the number one fucking target? Well, the guy that's 30 years old and is making just under $4 million, and I was fucked. And so, anyways, I played in San Jose to start the year. I broke my thumb. I fought Ryan Clough and broke my thumb. So I was out for 6 weeks. I come back. I'll be the first one to say, like, if I was playing like shit, I'd be the first one to say it. And I am fully aware that, I am very easily replaceable. I understood that too. But I got back from my broken thumb. I was playing fucking some of the best hockey I've ever played. And I was sitting, we had a game that night. So I was probably like 10 or 15 games into it, maybe, after my thumb. It was like December. And I remember stretching after pregame skate, and he skates by me, and he goes, "You're out tonight. Get a skate in." And I was like, I was so shocked. I was literally speechless. All I said was, "What?" And he just kept going, didn't say another word. And I'm like, I'm fucking scratched tonight. Anyways, the assistant coach comes, the North Dakota guy. He's like, "Mike, we got to get a skate in. You're out tonight." I go, "Hey, Brad." I'm like, "Why the fuck am I out tonight?" And he's like, well, I go, am I playing decent or am I out to lunch here? He goes, "No, I think you're playing great." I go, "Well, why the fuck am I scratched?" He's like, "Well, we got to get Radoslav Klesla back in." I love Radoslav Klesla. Great guy. Look, played with him for a couple of years. Great dude. I'm not ripping on Radoslav Klesla. I was a better fucking player than Radoslav Klesla. I'll say it right now. And that's what I go, well, take somebody else out. I go, "Look, I'm the fucking highest paid D-man here. I need to be fucking playing." Anyways, scratched. That was a disaster. Got my skate in. Never saw the ice again for like 6 weeks. Columbus is getting pounded. Arneal, he wouldn't even talk to me. Wouldn't meet with me. Wouldn't talk to me. So finally, we had a practice. And I was the seventh D-man, and my D partner was Derek McKenzie, a forward. And I'm like, I got to do something here, like force this guy to talk to me. So before practice, I go over to Derek. I go, "Hey, dude," I go, "Seriously," I'm like, "Don't give me the puck today." He's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Dude, don't give me the puck." He's like, "Okay." So the entire practice, which didn't end up lasting very long, anytime I got the puck, it was a saucer pass. I didn't care if it was 60 feet or if it was 2 feet. I was trying to sauce everything. So I was blowing every fucking drill up. Got Arneal lose it, snapped his stick on the bench. I'm screaming at him the entire time. "Ready to get you fucking chicken shit?" I'm screaming at him.
You're covering your mic,
I
Tommy.
follow him right in there. Anyways,
Yeah.
we have a meeting, a blowout. Didn't go very well, and that was my end of my tenure in Columbus. But to me, I will say my tweet was probably a little bit selfish. I probably would say it'll be interesting to see how it goes because he's been in Winnipeg as an assistant. So if he pulls that shit, they're obviously going to see right away. So I'm thinking he probably won't. But I don't know. For me, you see somebody's true colors when they get in a position of power. And when he did, he was a fucking piece of shit, in my opinion.
It's
Sorry,
funny,
that
like,
was probably a way too long an answer, but
That's fine.
fuck him.
I mean, some of those coaches, man, I've had many of them, and the way they treat you, it's just like, it's like these mind games. It's like, why can't you just? I'm a fucking professional. I'm
Right.
here. I've made it to this level. Can you treat me like a? They don't even treat you like a human being. You're a piece of shit. And they don't even talk to you. They don't make eye contact. You're not even worth a conversation to me. And it's like, your job is to make this team good. Your job is to make me better and to get the most out of me. And that's how you go about your business. And there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing you could do about it. They don't see it. The GM doesn't see it. He's got a million things to go. The guy just has complete power over you in your career. But now social media and stuff, you can be like, you know what? Remember the way you acted and behaved? Because if I
Right.
behaved like that to some kids and they grew up, I'd be like, oh shit, all that shittiness
Yeah.
I did to these guys, now I'm paying for it. So I don't even mind it when guys get called out for that stuff. Like, you don't treat people like that in any industry in the world.
Yeah, like I don't understand. Like I've never coached a day in my life, so I don't. I guess at the end of the day, I don't know. But I would like to think if I got hired as the fucking head coach of the Calgary Flames tomorrow, like to touch on, like you just said, I would view the job as like I want to get the best out of the people that are here, and the better they do, the better I fucking look. Like, why would I go in and try and like, to me, it makes no sense. I'm like,
I agree.
if I was coaching you, Jay, I'm like, I want to get the best fucking Jay Rosehill that I could possibly get. Because at the end of the day, you're going to play better. And that's going to make me look better. Like, why would I go in and try and fucking make you feel like shit? You're not playing well. It's not going to be good for the team. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be good for me. And at the end of the day, like my last meeting in Columbus with Scott Housen was the GM. So right before they kicked me off the team, I'm like, hey, Scott, I'm like, send me down to the minors. I'll go down there. I'll be a good guy. I'll work with the prospects. I don't know how much I'll play, but I'm fine. I don't want to go home. What the fuck am I going to do? But I tell you what, I go, Scott, I got a couple questions for you. He's like, okay. I go, who looks bad in this fucking deal? He's like, well, I go, I look bad. I go, number one, I go, I look bad. I go, I'm making almost $4 million a year. You have to pay me for 2 more fucking years. And I'm not even in Columbus. I look bad. Number one, I go, you want to know who else looks bad? He goes, who? I go, you look bad, Scott. You signed me to this fucking contract. I go, you hired the wrong coach. I go, I know you're not going to can him right now, but I go, I'll just say, if it was me, I am canning that motherfucker right now. And I'm like, Scott, you mark my words. I go, within a year from now, I go, Scott Arneal will be gone and you're going to be gone. He's going to get you fucking fired. And sure as shit, gone. Now he runs the American Hockey League, and I guess nobody can can him now. He's the commissioner of the AHL, so maybe the way it all worked out for him. But for general manager wise, that was his. He was there for a couple of years and fucking gone. So.
Well, it's funny because you said you're playing like 15 games. You feel good. You felt positive. You felt confident. I'm playing some really good hockey. Like, say you had a guy in there that's just like, hey, Commie, like the way you're playing, like you're moving along. Let's work on this part of thing. This team needs this out of you. We're going to give you this kind of minutes, but keep doing what you're doing. Build on it. Keep going. We're going to try to get you more. Like, all of a sudden you have like your career in Columbus could have gone just fine. It could have gone very well, but just a couple of things tear you down, and you're fucked. Like, thanks for that. What else are you supposed to do when the boss that runs the show is giving you that?
Yeah. It ended up, which was, man, it's funny. We're kind of talking about this. It came up during this charity event or whatever. I was just bullshitting with the guys, the team that I played with. And it's like, and in my opinion, like Columbus overall it's been a horseshit organization overall. I mean, they've made the playoffs, 3 times maybe in 25 years. I think they've won 1 round or something like that. Like overall, it hasn't been successful. But when I got there, my first year there, like we made the playoffs for the first time ever. Columbus Blue Jackets never made the playoffs. We got swept in the first round, but fuck it, it was a success. And I thought the city was awesome. I loved playing there. I really enjoyed Columbus, Ohio. And, we looking back, if there's one like regret in my career, I would say it would be how things like turned out there. Because in my opinion, we had really good pieces. I'm not going to say we were going to fucking win Stanley Cups. I'm not saying that. But like, I think we had really, really good pieces. We had young guys coming up that were good. Young Derek Brassard. We had a young Jake Voracek. We were pretty tough. We had Jared Bowl, who would fucking fight anybody. Rick Nash was right in the peak of his career. And it was too bad because the guy came in, blew it up. Within a year, everybody was gone. And it was a total fucking shit show.
Jake Voracek's a beauty. I have a random story hacking a dart with him at Bar 23 in Columbus, but this is a Leaf
Bar
show.
23, yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
my
was there. I
spot.
lived
My
2
boy
blocks from
Scully
there.
had been there a couple of times, but got to ask you about the Leafs. I'm hoping you've heard some good things on Craig Berube. We love him on this podcast.
Yeah. So I actually played on the same team as Craig. When I got traded to Calgary, he was playing here, but honestly, I think without pulling it up, I think it was his last year. I played the last 6 games of the year and they didn't play him or whatever. But so I don't really have any personal experiences with him, but he seemed like a great guy. Anybody that knows him loves him. And just from what I'd seen from the outside looking in, I would say it's a great hire. He seems like an honest fucking dude.
Yeah.
I would put him like in the same kind of thing as like if Rod Brindamore was my coach. Same kind of deal, I would say, for me. So I think the guys, I mean, immediately you got to respect the guy. I mean, he played forever. He was a fucking animal. If that guy tells me, hey, you need to fucking do this, I'll be like, that guy probably knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to try and do this, whatever the hell it is. So I think it's a great hire. I'll be interested to see how it works. Yeah, and I don't know any of the guys in Toronto. You know, the big core 4, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know any of them either. But, you know, if it was a country club before, I would say the country club is probably over. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
So what's your take on that? Obviously, Mitch Marner is taking some heat. He's kind of a softer style of player, not really willing to engage in that tough playoff style of hockey.
He
Craig
was fucking
Berube,
awful in the playoffs.
I don't know. He just completely goes away. He's just not willing to do certain things. You mentioned country club under Keefe. That's possible. What's the mixture of like the coach that you have to be this day and age? Obviously, you're not going to be Mike Keenan. No one likes that shit anymore. It doesn't work. But you have to have respect and they have to listen to you and you have to lead, but you also have to coddle them a little bit and be like, what's the mixture you think that Berube will need to have in order to get the Mitch Marners of the world and that team going at a better rate than they have been?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think the move is, if you can, I think is to trade Mitch Marner personally.
Yeah.
Get something back for him. And I mean, I don't think you can, for me, outside looking in, you know, you're going to keep, I mean, at some point, I think you got to move him. I don't think, at the end of the day, Mitch Marner's a good hockey player. He's an 89 point, or, you know, he's a point a game player. He's a good player. And he's not good in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, you know, the playoffs don't matter if you can't get there. So he can help that way. So I think he's got some, he's definitely worth something. But to, like, on the coaching perspective, I think at the end of the day, you're like, your job is to manage personalities, so to speak. I think you know, Jay, you might be a better player. If I'm coaching you, I need to realize, like, okay, is Jay Rosehill a better player if I'm on him a little bit? Or is he better if I back off him? You know, do you need a pat on the ass or do you need to be kicked in the ass?
Yeah.
One of those, what gets me the best Jay Rosehill? And so I'm assuming with you, it's probably more of a kick in the ass than patting on the ass. So that's what I'm going to do. With Mitch Marner, maybe it's, hey, Mitch, like, pat him on the ass. Hey, look, you need to play a little bit better. Fucking boost him up a little bit. And maybe that's how you get more. But I think at the end of the day, it's managing personalities is the name of the game.
It'll be interesting, Commie. This has been a blast just getting your perspective on a couple of different things. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot for having me, guys. Sorry it took so long.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
We'll see you this week on the links, Commie.
Yes. I'll see you Thursday.
Sounds good.
See you, Commie.
Bluff the ball, too. We don't care about that. It's not about the golf. You do whatever you need to do. If you need a mulligan, fucking take it. I don't give a shit.
We'll be fine. We'll get by, I'm sure.
All right. I'll see you guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
See you, man. Thanks
Our
for coming.
pleasure.
Take it.
Mike Commodore, former NHL defenseman. You can check out his podcast as well, Clearing the Crease, over with Bodog, I believe. And they do a great job. I just love shooting from the hip, Rosie. It's my favorite.
Commie, you know you're just gonna get the wild man. Hey, it makes our swear jar look empty, man. That's good for us. No, what a beauty, man. You cannot run into anyone who knows that guy or has spent any time who's not just happy to be around him. And obviously you can see why he's hilarious. He's opinionated, he doesn't hold back, and he's not a softie, man. I love it.
Warrior Womp, that swear jar is full now. For those of you who've been watching this podcast for a long time, we have tried to take it back a bit on the swearing. I think we've done a pretty good job over the last couple weeks, but Kami just covered it for the next 3 months.
Love it. Well, I don't know. Everyone's virgin ears, or I think everyone's going to be just fine. They heard a word that they didn't like. I think everyone will be just fine. Kami likes to get his point across with some oomph.
Yeah. And it is the offseason, too. I just had to ask about Scott Arneal because it's the most pertinent thing to come to mind. Obviously, Friday, Arneal becomes official with Winnipeg, and Kami takes to Twitter. How can you not ask him about that? So we will deviate a bit over the next couple months. Obviously, a lot of ground to cover. There's still a lot of Maple Leafs conversation, so hope you appreciated that. Many thanks to Mike Commodore for dropping by. It's time for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Looking forward, Rosie, to Game 3 of the Western Conference Final. Do you like Dallas or Edmonton tonight?
Oh, interesting. You know what I'm going to take? I'm going to take the three-way, and I'm going to take that it goes to overtime. That's
Okay.
always huge value, plus 350. And I don't know. And maybe the under 2. I keep thinking there's going to be like a breakout game. I guess yesterday quite a few goals were scored, but it seems to be really tight games. Goals are hard to come by. Goaltenders are stealing the show. It's hard to say with I keep thinking with Skinner and McDavid and Draisaitl that it's going to be, a shootout, but I could just see this game going to overtime is the one thing that stands out at good value.
That's fair. I'm going to target the over. That's something I was looking at. I was on it yesterday for Game 3 between Florida and the New York Rangers at 5.5, and a hit. Looking around the price of minus 115 at 5.5 for the over. So give me that. And give me the Dallas Stars at plus money on the road here in Game 3. I like them to win the series. I don't think they played their best game just yet. 1-1 in this series. I think Dallas is a monster performance here on the road.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I think they're still the forerunners in the series, but if they keep getting special stuff out of their goaltender and their star players, anything's possible. But I think it'll be fairly tight. But I don't mind giving the edge to Dallas as much as I want to cheer for Edmonton, and they'll be in their home barn. Hopefully, they'll be rocking and rolling, ready to go. But I don't mind that bet. I just think that Dallas is the better team.
Yeah, it's the margin for error is razor thin. I think all 4 teams, you could make a legitimate case that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I think there's 4 excellent teams remaining here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Rosie, excellent job today. Many thanks to Mike Commodore. You're back on Wednesday, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so Carter Hutton's going to be in the mix tomorrow. And then when you do return on Wednesday, we have confirmed David Perron, who's slated to become a UFA on July 1, is going to drop by this podcast. What are you going to ask him?
Yeah. I'm just going to flat out say, are you going to be on the Maple Leafs or what? We'll see. I mean, people are talking about, depends on the money. I think he's known to be a good player. He's got the experience. He's getting a little older in age. What is he going to command for a salary on the open market? Or if, I can't remember, sorry, is his contract, he's a UFA?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. But a guy with a lot of experience and knows Craig Berube intimately, so it'll be great to pick his brain.
Yep, that's exactly it. Played for Chief in St. Louis, so you can connect the dots right there. David Perron's coming up on Wednesday. Again, Carter Hutton's in the mix coming up tomorrow. We'll continue to break down everything that's transpired over the last couple weeks. Hope you enjoyed Mike Commodore. Many thanks to producer Vic, everybody in the chat. Great as per usual, and a lot of people chiming in on the swear jar. Yeah, it's chattered at this point in time. At the Leafs Nation 4-1. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Leafs Want to Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit LeafsNation.com. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll chat tomorrow. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at TheLeafsNation.com. Thanks so much for watching.